All right, so I just have a few videos in this section that are kind of miscellaneous, if you will, and one of the things I kind of want to go back to is when you are considering and rescuing a dog from the shelter, or getting a dog from an older dog from another family that maybe weren't the right family for them, or circumstances have changed and now they have to find the dog another home. I've heard a number of times that certain things went wrong because the dog was not used to a child in the previous home, and you do have a younger child. So I want you to be aware of this, that could potentially be a bit of a scary situation. Now, I'm not saying it will always go wrong, but just keep it in the back of your head that because you don't know very often anyways what has happened in the previous homes, because sometimes the dog ends up at the shelter by somebody just dropping it off at night. Nobody knows the history of the dog. The dog's just there in front of the door when they open up in the morning, and that's it. They don't even know what the name is. They don't know if it's vaccinated. They don't know where it's been. They have absolutely no knowledge of this dog. That is, of course, that can happen. There are other ones where somebody does tell a little bit about the circumstances, but often you may not know. And some of the personality traits may not always show up in the shelter till they come to a new home. Now, I love it for people to help out a dog because you're saving a life. If you have a home with older children, teenagers, or no children, those are usually better situations, because a younger child has a harder time defending itself if something were to go wrong. So with younger children, I just like to stress you, be careful, do your research, ask around, check the dog, and see for yourself if it's going to be safe for your family or not. Yes, I do really like it when people save a life, but there are certain circumstances where it's maybe not always advisable for you to do this. Other than that, I highly recommend you do it because you're saving a life. You don't often have to train them as in potty training them, and some people really like that idea because they don't really want to clean up and do all the extra work. So if that's you, then sure, this could be great. The other thing is, because you don't know the history, you may have some extra work cut out for you because the dog may not have had the similar situation as your house, because that's usually the reason why they ended up at the shelter in the first place. So they often had a lack of attention. They may not have had a respect for the owner, or the owner didn't have respect for the dog. They weren't the alpha. The whole 7 principles for success in having a great behaved dog, these principles aren't usually in place. So you have to sometimes work a little bit more, or a lot harder in some cases, to get your dog to go to where you want them to go. It's very important that you are really sticking to those 7 principles, because if they see that you're the alpha right from the beginning, maybe that was an issue and now the problem is already solved because you're telling the dog to sit and behave and do this and do that, and the dog's like, wow, this is awesome. This is what I needed all my life. So that could be very simple sometimes, but it comes down to us being consistent and sticking to the 7 principles. And that will make even an older dog is very easy to retrain as long as we stick very good to the 7 principles. So if that's one of the things you want to consider, I highly recommend you go back to the fundamentals section where you learn about the 7 principles and go over it a few times if you have to really get this down and really to take it all in, absorb it, so you can do this with your new shelter or rescue dog. Hopefully this was helpful for you, and we'll see you in the next video.